Welcome back to Power Play. I'm Jane Tabor, joining you from the foyer of the House of Commons. And joining me now from Vancouver is the Heritage Minister, James Moore. Good afternoon, Mr. Moore.
How are you?
I'm good. And I want to know how you're doing, because there were reports today that CBC canceled a meeting on you. And coincidentally, last night you had been critical of the CBC for running political programming, for running U.S. programming. So what's that all about?
Well, we had a long-standing offer from the CBC for me to come and meet with the president, chairman, and the board at any time, and we took them up on their offer. March 10th, we secured a meeting that was going to actually take place today in Toronto. That was confirmed, and then late Friday afternoon, CBC called us and said, no, we want the minister not to come on Monday morning. We want him to come on Tuesday, but my schedule tomorrow and Tuesday is full. I'm going to be in Calgary all day and in Banff in the evening, and doing some announcements and some events that there's just no way to for me to change that. So I'll meet with them sometime in the near future. But I think what's important is what they're discussing at the CBC and the direction that they want to go.
And what is important to you about that? Because today they are looking at over the next 2 days, I think they're looking at their business plan. There have been reports as well that they are looking at advertising or considering advertising on CBC Radio, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I'm against that, certainly. Look, CBC is receiving $1.1 billion from taxpayers this year, more under our government than any government before. And I think there's an expectation amongst Canadians that what they want to see on the CBC is Canadian content on a Canadian platform. This is what we're paying for. And I was on the Radio Canada show last night, Tout le monde en parle, where I mentioned that I think Canadians get a little bit upset when they see this massive CBC Radio Canada infrastructure that they've built with taxpayers' dollars over the years, over $30 billion over the last 30 years, and they see this infrastructure being built and they see American programming on it like Wheel of Fortune. I understand there's a business argument for that because they want to pursue ad revenues that then cross-subsidizes some other things. That's for CBC to explain. But I think as we're going into this new fiscal year for CBC, I think it's important that they understand and that Canadians understand what our role and what our perception is of from the government's perspective of what we expect from the CBC.
Right, and was that the case that you were going to make when you met with them today? Were you going to tell them that you think that they shouldn't be running U.S. programming on the network?
Well, I was going to meet with them because I haven't had the opportunity to meet them all as one group and just have a conversation with them about the plans that they're going to be laying out and frankly what our expectations are as taxpayers and through the government and me as minister responsible for the CBC, that we want the CBC to continue to be a strong public broadcaster supporting Canadian content in both official languages in all the regions of this country, including Aboriginal broadcasting, showing Canadian stories, Canadian drama, Canadian feature film and documentaries. CBC has this infrastructure, and that's what Canadians want to see on the CBC.
One thing about that, though, you have to be very careful because the Conservatives, your Conservatives, the Harper Tories, are considered to be enemies, basically, of the CBC, given the fact that there's been fundraising against the CBC that's actually raised a lot of money for your party. So how tricky is it for you to navigate through the CBC waters?
Not too much. Look, it was a Conservative government that created the CBC. It's our Conservative government that had the campaign commitment that we fulfilled with regard to funding of the CBC. We're, as I said, giving more money to the CBC this year than ever before.
They want more, though. They want more, and they say it's not permanent financing. They haven't had that. They've had decreases, I think, over the years for the last 9 or 10 years.
No, they've had increases in funding from our government going forward, and that's what we promised to do in the campaign, was to sustain or increase funding for the CBC, and that's what we've done. But again, it's not just about levels of funding; it's about the kind of choices that are being made. And I think Canadians want the CBC to be a strong public broadcaster that provides Canadian content on Canadian platforms in all regions of this country, not to be seen. And I'm increasingly hearing this, and the CBC hears this as well. We've had conversations that I don't think Canadians want the CBC to become or to be seen to be becoming a taxpayer-subsidized competitor to private broadcasters. They should be a Canadian public broadcaster showing Canadian stories, Canadian drama in a public way, and that's the challenge that they're going to be facing.
Just quickly, because you had some problems in the election campaign in Quebec, your party did, because of support to culture. We have seen the Liberals gaining strength in the province of Quebec, and that I don't know if it's tied to culture, but what are your feelings about that, and what are you trying to do to change that course?
Well, we have a great caucus, obviously, from the province of Quebec. You see polls go up, you see polls go down. It doesn't mean you sometimes get
They keep
overexcited.
going down.
You get overexcited when they go up, and sometimes you get overly concerned when they go down. But we have our work ahead of us. We recognize that. But we have great cabinet ministers: Lawrence Cannon, Christian Paradis, José Vernet from Quebec. Great MPs, Denis Lebel and others. We have our work ahead of us, but we're going to do that work. And I think ultimately, good policy means good politics in the province of Quebec. I think we're delivering in a way that hasn't been seen before with regard to arts and culture. More money for arts and culture than any government in Canadian history. It means supporting and respecting the Québécois culture and all Canadian culture. And those are the things we're investing in. And I think ultimately, in the long term, Quebecers will recognize that and continue to support a strong Conservative government.
James Moore, I want to thank you very much for your time today and your explanation about what's going on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jane.